Hello and welcome. You're listening to Marketing Matters on the Wharton Podcast Network, our weekly podcast where we analyze the latest in advertising, marketing, customer behavior, retailing, new product launches, branding. I'm Barbara Kahn, the Patty and J.H. Baker Professor of Marketing, and I'm joined by my co-host, Americus Reed, the Whitney M. Young Jr. Professor of Marketing and the Brand Identity Theorist. Hello, Americus.
Hi, Barbara. So, we are coming towards the end of 2025. I was recalling one of my students in class asked me, what is the definition of innovation? And business innovation is defined according to the interwebs as the process of implementing new ideas, products, services, or processes to create value, solve problems, increase efficiency, and gain a competitive edge, ultimately driving growth and boosting bottom line by meeting evolving customer needs. So I was thinking about, as we think about the big picture of 2025, there's probably a lot of innovation that happened out there that we need to talk about and to sort of celebrate in terms of some of the great things that have happened. And I was wondering if you had anything for me that we could jump in and sort of deal with that particular issue today.
Yeah, and given it's the end of the year and a lot of media likes to make lists, we decided to go to the media. And in particular, we have with us today Emma Barker, was the editorial director at Time, and she oversees major projects that they do, such as Time's 100 Most Influential Companies and Time's, to your point, Best Inventions. And she's been recognized by lots of different companies, including the Gerald Loeb Awards. And the reason I picked that one out in particular, although she has a long list, is because I think that's given by UCLA, and I used to be at UCLA. And I used
Nice.
to be on the committee that chose some of the award-winning journalists who wrote in business and marketing. So anyway,
Nice.
Emma, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Emma, is it true that you guys do all these end of the year lists at to celebrate December and the beginning of January, and you have a lot of lists, or they're just a few lists, or
So Time is kind of famous for lists because we've had the Time 100 for a long time. Person of the Year is a very short list, but has become a slightly expanded list, and that's been happening for almost 100 years. And so we're sort of known for our lists. We do them throughout the year, so it's not just an end of
well,
year thing, but we do most of them annually. And yeah, every fall we do best inventions each year, and this year is our biggest ever list. There's just constantly more and more innovation happening in the world that we feel like we need to recognize.
so let's save some drama before you tell us what they are, and tell us a little bit about the process. Like, how do you decide these?
Yeah, so we do have an application process. Companies can apply for their products and ideas, and really that's just a way for us to be able to sort through the tons and tons of cold pitches we get. And so we take applications, and then we do our own research throughout the Time newsroom. The different desks are pitching things. The health team pitches medical innovations, the tech team is pitching AI stuff. It's across the board. And so we get a lot of pitches from reporters as well. And then myself and a small team of editors combs through them all, and really we're
Right.
looking for mainly newsworthiness. So we're looking for products
Yeah.
that really moved the needle this year. It's a little different than some things like CES or things that are a little earlier stage. We're really looking for things that are like changing consumers' lives today or this year. Um, and yeah, so we're really impact is huge for us. Global impact is what we're looking for, and it's a really big mix of B2B products, ideas. One year we had a new shape. I don't know if you remember this. It was a couple
Oh,
years
that's cool.
ago, but mathematicians discovered a new shape that had
Oh, dear.
could be repeated, into infinity. And that was on the list. And then all the way down to really basic consumer products that are just smartly designed or had a big moment this year.
How
Interesting.
important is design? How important is beauty or something like that? Or is it functionality that you
Mm,
prioritize?
mm.
Yeah, well, we separate into sectors, and so everything has its moment. I think when it comes to beauty, we're really looking for like standout innovation where with scientific backing. So there's a lot of kind of wellnessy things that maybe aren't quite the right fit for time. Um,
I meant beauty in terms of beautiful, like
oh,
aesthetics
oh,
or
aesthetics. Yeah, design
but
is
beauty is
huge.
interesting too.
Yeah, the design category is one of our most popular categories actually in terms of readership. And what, we get stats on what people click on and what people look to buy. And
Oh.
um
Interesting.
and design is top of that. People are always really excited about that. And when we're looking at design, we're looking at, you know, things we'll put in the design category maybe wouldn't have stood out in a separate category, but are just fun to look at or really smartly designed. This
Oh, that's an
year.
interesting thing also. You have it set up so people can immediately buy it?
Yeah, we do have
Hmm.
buy now links on products that are available for
Oh, that's
purchase.
interesting.
There's also a lot of things, you're not gonna buy a John Deere tractor on the internet. Um,
Well, you never know.
I don't know. I might do that. Why not?
I mean, the affiliate kickbacks on that would be
Yeah.
incredible. But but no, it's mostly the beauty stuff and the design stuff sells, people are really clicking on that as a gift guide type thing.
Mm.
Interesting. Let me ask you this, Emma. So, one of the things that we were talking about earlier is this notion of innovation acceleration.
Mhm,
As there's a big history here with time looking at this over multiple years, if not hundreds of years, 100 years, you
mhm.
said. And so are you noticing that the amount of what you define as global impact is actually something that is increasing as a function of the speed of adoption or the speed of traction that happens with respect to these kinds of innovations that you're celebrating? Is that a trend that you've been noticing in the last, let's say, 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, definitely. So we've been doing best inventions specifically for 25 years. It started in 2000. But obviously time has been covering innovation for our entire 101-year history. And I think the biggest change we've noticed is yes, in terms of speed of adoption, but ability to have global impact even if you're a small company or a small product. Um, Mainly that's a social media thing and an internet thing. We have companies or products that are made by a single inventor, like a
Mm.
man in his garage,
Oh,
um,
wow.
that have made the list because they really took off online or on social media and just blew up. And so it's a lot easier, I think, for smaller companies and smaller innovators to make these kind of lists now.
So let me
Interesting.
ask you, what's your favorite
Mm,
one? Not the number one, but your personal favorite one on
Okay.
this
mm.
list.
From this year?
Yeah.
Uh okay, this is a gonna reflect on me personally, but my favorite my favorite one is called Heat It. It is a little device that you can plug into your phone. It heats up to a scientifically determined temperature that neutralizes bug bites. And then you plug it into your phone, you put the other end on your bug bite, and it stops the itch. Um,
Ah,
which I think is
yes,
just
right?
brilliant, and I am
Wow.
a permanent target of mosquitoes, so I
Oh, me
really
too.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
and that has
interesting.
a click link. I gotta go click on that.
Yeah, actually, that
Interesting.
one people ordered a lot of. And it's not very expensive, it's pretty low priced. And there's another one that's really fun, that came from a Japanese company. This was in the design category, actually. I think that it's a very cute little cat, sculpture that perches on the edge of a cup or a bowl, and it blows on your soup or your hot beverage for you, which I just think is adorable.
That's incredible.
That
Emma,
is
I did not know I needed that, but as the moment you said that, I have to have that now.
well, I need the mosquito bite one,
Yeah, that's awesome.
absolutely, without question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
cool.
so, yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for, like, kinda weird ones. And on the rest of them, do you order them, or is there, like, a 1, 2, 3, or is it just,
Yeah, so we try out certain ones. usually we also have a really wide range of reporters that work with us, freelance reporters that work with us on this. And so when we assign it, sometimes they'll try it out. Sometimes we'll call one into the office. We photograph a good number of them in our studio as well. So we bring them in for that. And then some just aren't able to move. We've done we've done things like a huge observatory in, South America, and that's the
Wow.
kind of thing that we're not going to be able to try out, but we're going to interview an astronomer about how they use it. So it really varies, but definitely the consumer stuff we're always trying out. And we of course return everything.
No,
Sadly.
but what I mean is there an order? Is there like, this is the top one, the best new
Oh,
invention, or
no, it's not ranked. It's not a ranked
that's
list.
what I meant, ranked.
I
Yes, I
Yeah.
should know that word.
Although in its original state, this list was ranked. We did used to have Invention of the Year.
Mm,
And I believe the year it came out, 2007, the Apple iPhone was the Invention of the Year, and then we would have others on the list. It was a much smaller list. And yeah, so they used to name that. I think it became more
mm.
difficult, and we wanted to just be able to, draw attention to a wider range of products.
Yeah, so if you look at your 25-year Hall of Fame, there's the iPhone was that in 2007. Then you had, YouTube in 2006.
Yep.
That's kind
Mhm.
of an interesting one, and then
Yep.
you had the Tesla,
Yep.
and then I see here the James Webb Space Telescope, so
Yes,
those.
that was a great one.
Yeah, that was in 2022, and the Roomba, that's kind of
Ah.
that one I think just went out of
Yeah,
business,
they're back in the news because they just filed for bankruptcy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sadly, but they really spurred
Interesting.
the entire robot vacuum space, like that was
Interesting.
that was not a thing, and now pretty much every home cleaning company makes some sort of robotic vacuum, so, I think they had big impact despite not having a strong business model apparently.
And then
Interesting.
you had one that turns out to be quite political. The mRNA vaccine was
Yes,
one of
yep,
your, so that was in 2020.
mhm.
That was one of your Hall of Fame selections. So that's kind of interesting. And I don't know if you know, but that was developed here at Penn. So we're quite
Yeah.
proud of that.
Oh,
Yes,
very
we are.
Uh,
nice.
Yeah, very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
there's a really strong history in Best Inventions of, the biggest medical innovations of the year, and featuring a lot of those. The first year in 2000, we had some really interesting medical innovations, including something that stops tremors. It was the first implant that
Mm,
they would implant to stop tremors in people with Parkinson's. And actually, just this year, we featured a new version of that same product that has now been improved upon for 25 years. So it's come full circle.
interesting. And let me ask you this, Emma, because there is discussion of, the return of manufacturing,
Hmm.
let's say, in this country. So I'm just curious, are there examples on the list of innovations in that space, in the sort of the B2B space where, different ways to or different products, let's say, that are more enterprise based? What are some of the standouts in that space?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, in terms of American manufacturing, we always have John Deere stuff on here, and they're a really big American manufacturer. And so I think they really speak to that story. They've been really pushing the innovation in the agriculture space. Last year, they had a um, fully electric and connected tractor, which was really interesting,
Interesting.
and really, pushing that boundary. But
Pretty cool.
yeah,
A connected tractor. I'm
you gotta
wondering
track your
what that
stats.
means.
You have to track your stats. I
That's
I
right.
can only, it does things like connects to the cloud so that you can monitor your
Oh, interesting.
Tractoring.
your
Yeah,
tractoring, your
yeah.
agricultural
Right,
needs.
right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
interesting because it's sort of like that's really interesting, right? Taking the science and all of the all of the potential elements of the ecosystem that would allow you to optimize your farming and your agriculture, and bringing that data into this product to be able to react in different ways
Mhm.
that will be able to optimize your crops or whatever. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And they're one of very few companies, I would say, that is still doing most of their all of their manufacturing, I believe, in the US. which is really
Awesome.
interesting. So they always rise to the top. There's a lot of action in the sort of fulfillment center space
Mm,
where it's, either robotics that can, pack or deliver items more smoothly. We've featured some of these humanoid robots that Amazon is trialing in their warehouses. So a lot of warehouse technologies, whether that's
mhm.
fulfillment, delivery, or just specific, kind of sorting tools, things like that that use AI and robotics.
So if we look at some of the ones on this year's also, it looks like on the cover you featured the Figure AI's Figure '03. What exactly is that?
Yes, it is a humanoid robot.
Oh
Um,
dear.
it is a humanoid robot, and actually, it's the second year in a row we've had a humanoid robot on the cover. Last
Oh, interesting.
year we had a different robot that was doing more factory work. That was
Okay.
doing things like what you see at Amazon, where it's sorting packages, doing that kind of stuff in a fulfillment center. Um, there have been a few companies that have branched into that, and Figure is one of them. It's actually working in a BMW factory right
Oh,
now. I forget if it's West Virginia or Virginia, somewhere out east.
Mhm.
And actually working on the floor, 10 hours a day, assembling cars. Um, and that's sort of in a trial period. So that's sort of been done. But what made us really interested in Figure and the Figure 3 specifically is that Figure is one of the first companies that's targeting the home for humanoid robots.
Oh dear.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
we all shudder.
I
I'm excited actually. I'm
You
not sure
like
I
what
that
they're gonna
idea.
do, but I want them to do
Interesting.
it.
yeah, I don't know. I've seen this movie.
Well, the CEO, Brett Adcock, he talks about this. He has several of the robots in his home. They're there with his young kids, and they're doing
Oh my
laundry and
god.
washing dishes.
Okay.
Doing laundry, cleaning
Yep,
the floors, that's what I want.
I
Oh
know,
man.
I know.
Oh, interesting.
So we've found that really interesting, and that poses a threat to a whole new area of job replacement, which is
Mhm.
domestic
Mhm.
work.
Mhm.
And
Interesting.
that has pros and cons. It could take a huge burden off of parents and anyone with a home, I guess, but largely women who do work at home. And then but then it could also, take away jobs from people like housekeepers and nannies and things like that. So
Interesting.
just huge implications there, and they just introduced that new robot this fall.
Jeez, that's so
Interesting.
exciting.
They're
And
targeting
just
the
to
next
sort of
couple
make sure
years.
I understand this, Emma, help me understand that. So humanoid just means that it's moving more and more to the technology, and the robot itself is moving more and more to essentially replicating human-like movements, things like that. Is that what humanoid actually means? It's sort of
Yeah.
like you're almost gonna get to a point where you don't recognize the difference
I don't know if that's the goal. I don't
I
know.
saw Blade Runner. I watched this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. And the replicants, I mean, I tell you, they had to come up with a test to figure out,
Yeah.
do they have an emotional response or not? And so
No,
I'm getting nervous, Emma.
I don't know if the total human replication is the goal, but essentially a humanoid is just it has a human form, it has arms, it's bipedal, it has a head. Um and I'm also kind of interested in why companies go for that. I think it's probably, especially in the home, um our homes are so set up for a human body. The cabinets are up high where you reach, the fridge opens this way. And
Yeah.
so I think you
I see.
kind of need that
Mm,
way of movement in order to navigate a home.
interesting.
Um
Interesting.
the but if you look at the Figure 3, I mean its face is just a black
Oh, dear.
um
Uh,
a black
well, then how does it see?
This is not instilling confidence,
it's just a
Emma.
black screen. It's a black
It's
screen
just a screen.
and it is eerie.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
But, yeah, they're definitely not trying to make it actually look like a human yet. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's interesting. The reason I'm asking because I was recently, Emma, in and you can tell me if this is on a list at all, but a driverless car called Waymo.
Mhm.
And it was odd to me that the steering wheel and the seat in the front was still intact because there's no one sitting there, but yet the steering wheel is turning, and we were sort of saying like, you don't have to have that space there. There doesn't need to be a steering wheel. And one of my colleagues was like, actually, you do, because you want to create familiarity and you want to create a sense of more of a sense of safety, let's say,
Yes.
because it's something you're used to. And maybe that's the same idea here, which is a humanoid, or a design that looks like a humanoid is, you're almost hardwired to kind of accept it more because of how it moves and because maybe you have this connection with,
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the
humanness.
Waymo, there's no person sitting there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
No, and
steering
that's the
wheel's
thing.
just
It's sort of
moving by
like that's
itself.
the thing that freaks you out. But
Yeah, yeah.
this interesting kind of idea of like, maybe it's some comfort to see the steering wheel turning, and I don't know.
I think so.
No, I
Maybe it's a
think that's weird.
poltergeist
That's
thing.
like
I
a
don't know, but
ghost.
And if
it
you
it
if
is
you
it.
had knowing that if you had to jump into the front seat and steer, you
Yeah,
could.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's
yeah,
there.
that's the part of it
yeah,
that's good, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Not
no,
the
I
part with nobody turning it and it's just moving.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not
no, I think
reassuring.
there is an element to that, the familiarity, the comfort of wanting to speak, especially if it's gonna be voice commanded, wanting to be able to speak to something that looks familiar to you and
Yeah.
isn't too foreign. That said, we're
Hmm.
already totally accustomed to speaking to smart speakers, so
Fair.
I don't
That's
know if
fair. That's fair.
people really care about
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of, research has gone into this, in terms
Uh-huh.
of what
Uh-huh.
people wanna talk to. Um,
Is the driverless car technology making the list, or is that
yeah.
sort of old hat by now?
No, no, so Waymo had a huge year this year. They were on the cover of our Time 100 Most Influential Companies. Their 2 co-CEOs, were on with they expanded into, I don't have the exact number because they're announcing new cities every day, but,
Philly's one.
tons of cities. They just announced that they're launching in London, which is a huge launch for them. They
Interesting.
did LA last year, which was their biggest city yet.
And I know they're testing in New York, which is a
Yes.
little bit scary.
Well, and
That's scary.
they're testing in New York, but that is where the driver's seat comes in. When they test, they're mapping the city, but they have a driver sitting behind the wheel just as
Oh,
protection.
I see. I see.
So
I
that
see.
only gets removed when they get clearance to actually operate driverless.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha. And my understanding there is that tell me if this is incorrect, Emma, that all of the cars are Jaguars. Is this true? I,
Currently,
I believe
yes.
that's the case.
Yes.
Okay. So
Currently
there's a
they are, which is a
gotcha.
huge, the biggest barrier to Waymo is profitability. They are bleeding money, and that's the
Oh,
reason. They're doing very well, but their cars are super expensive. They have incredible safety statistics, but part of that is because they have so many sensors on every car, which is
interesting.
great, but also so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I heard, like, in some of the cities where they're running, they're not cheaper than taxis or anything. They
yeah,
may be
usually
more
at first
Mm-hmm.
they're
expensive.
not, but I think, I was in San Francisco earlier this year, and they seem to be, not drastically different from an Uber in price
Interesting.
wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, what did you think of your first Waymo ride?
I had a bunch of colleagues with me, Emma, and we were all a little freaked out, but it was kind of cool. And we were sort of thinking back to that first
How
Uber
many
ride.
people were in the car?
Let's see, one, two, three, four of us.
Wow. So someone
So
was in the front seat?
someone was in the front seat, and there were three of us in the back. And
Wow.
yeah, and I was recalling, Emma, to your point, the very first time I got into an Uber with some students in San Francisco, that they dialed this thing up and the car pulls up.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Come on, professor, let's go to the bar." And I'm like, "No way, man. I'm not getting in that car with a stranger that just pulled up." And now it's like completely ubiquitous. So to your point, Emma, for Waymo driverless cars, that kind of thing, the more it scales up, that's the
Mhm.
profitability question as well. But also just the familiarity and the trust issue,
Yeah.
widely speaking, across consumers
Well,
as
they've
well.
done something really interesting, which is this sort of the opposite of other Silicon Valley companies, which is this very slow rollout. They've been operating for years and years, and a lot of them start. Phoenix is sort of their trial
That's where I
area.
saw them in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's sort of their trial area. They always launch new stuff in Phoenix, try it out.
Nothing happens in Phoenix.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's fine.
Nice and safe. Just a little hot, but
Um, Yeah, and then they expand it to different cities slowly, one by one, and sort of gain this corporate trust. And um, something that we found in our reporting for that cover story was that they're largely being very, welcomed by the local communities with open arms, which is not something that we've seen with a lot of other technologies. Usually there's an initial kind of pushback to something that different.
Interesting.
And yeah, people are really most locals in cities where they have this like it, which was surprising
Interesting.
to us.
So let me look. I'm looking over the list this year, and I see one of my favorite things, which is the Aura Ring.
Oh dear.
And
Okay.
you have here the Aura Ring 4. So is that a
That
specific model of the Aura Ring that,
and before you answer that, Emma, I have to give you some information on Barbara. I think she usually wears about 4 wearables. Is that
yeah,
correct,
yeah,
Barbara?
but this is my favorite.
Wow.
But
Oh,
your
well, I
aura is
mean,
cool.
I do like, my others. You
Yeah,
have an Aura Ring now?
I
Okay.
Yeah,
do.
I have
Yeah,
my watch, I have my Fitbit, yeah.
nice. Aura's really taking off. Tell us about it,
Yes.
Emma.
Yeah,
But why
Aura's
is it the
interesting.
Aura Ring 4? Is it something special about the 4?
That's just the newest
Oh,
one. They've added some sensors,
oh,
they track new biometrics, so they've really just expanded the offering of that. But that particular recognition is a little bit of a lifetime achievement. Aura is kind of
Interesting.
amazing. They came out of nowhere with a single product,
Yeah,
um, and they have totally revolutionized the wearable space to the
big time.
point that, major companies like Apple and other wearable makers are filing, patents. There's always
Yep.
rumor that they're going to do a ring and filing
Yep.
patents that are sort of seen as trying to replicate what Aura has built, which is really amazing for a company that does one specific thing and is not Silicon Valley based.
Yeah, and I
yes.
love that point too. Sorry to interrupt, Barbara, but just really quickly, one of the big issues that they solved was the real estate problem, right?
Yes.
In the sense of, you only have 2 wrists and, where are you gonna put this
Yeah, but
thing? And
look,
sort
you
of
could go all the way up your arm, you
yeah,
see?
but I mean, the idea that 2 things, to your point, Barbara. 2 things. One is yeah, us normal people, we're not we're not gonna necessarily do that, but perhaps. And then the other idea of a modality, Emma, that pulls in potentially the fashion piece,
Mhm.
I think is
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah,
interesting as well. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
in some sense, that innovation, fashion plus solving a little bit of the real estate problem and
Yeah.
then providing, because my whole thing was like, can you get the same kind of quality of metrics if the thing is on your finger? And the answer
Oh, it's
apparently is yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
In fact, they're better in some sense because like, when you go to the doctor, this is where they get your blood,
Yeah.
your pulse and things like that. It's actually quite we don't have that much time left, but there's just one more product on this I wanted to ask you about just because it's so weird to me. You have a whole milk formula on this?
Yes. Okay, so this is I don't know if either of you guys have kids.
I
Uh,
do.
this is a space that is a little more US specific. A lot of these products are global. This product specifically is, Europe and most of the rest of the world has a lot stricter regulations on what is in infant formula. Um, And this has become a big sort of battleground issue in the US of what's in infant formula, how is it based, is it actually what's best for infants? Um, and largely it's seen that whole milk is superior to skim milk or lower fat milks for babies. In terms of brain development and other things, a lot of the US formulas are skim milk based. I assume because they're cheaper, but I actually don't totally know why. And a lot of them will have additives. Some of them have high fructose corn syrup. They've actual like sugar in them. So
Mm.
there's been this sort of blowback, and I don't know if this is a little bit of the sort of wellness beat, a little bit of the Maha movement happening here. But there's
Yeah.
been this real blowback against additives in food in general, and so a lot of attention has been drawn to what is in baby formula in the US. And
Interesting.
so a couple of these startups have launched these formulas available in the US that meet the European standards. And this is one of the only formulas that is available in the US that is only based on whole milk, which we thought was pretty
Oh,
interesting.
what an innovation.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
great.
Yeah. Simple,
That's
Well, we
pretty
are
cool.
but effective.
yeah. I mean, I bet each one of these has an incredible story, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're out of time.
Hmm.
Emma, thank you so much for joining us today and bringing us this interesting list of innovations.
Yep.
And where can our listeners go to find the entire list and all the stories and
Yeah.
find out more about this process?
So the whole list is on time.com/bestinventions. It's also, we have a special issue that's on newsstands right now that has all the issues, all of the inventions in it. It just says Time Best Inventions, so you'll know it when you see it.
Nice.
And it's all across the world. So yeah, you can find it anywhere there's a newsstand.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's so cool. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you all for listening today. We'll be back next week. Till then, this has been Marketing Matters on the Wharton Podcast Network. I'm Barbara Kahn, here with Americus Read.